Hello, everybody. This is another study of Oahspe.com podcast video, copyright for YouTube. Today's subject will be from the book of Saphah, plate 65, Simoin of the 1882 green Oahspe edition. The subject is the equivalence of mass and energy. Now on studyofOASP.com, scrolling up to the top, on the page More Science, Astronomy, and Physics, it says at the top of the page, Oahspe, Book of Cosmology and Prophecy, Chapter 11, Verse 6. There is no such thing as separating science and religion. To obtain knowledge and to do good, these are valuable. Oahspe, Book of Knowledge, Part 1, or Chapter 1, Verse 30. TAE said, I will reason with thee, Jehovah, for all I know shall be based on science and truth. From thine own perfection am I inspired to this end, and my talents shall be to strengthen my pursuing, shall be strengthened by pursuing the exact sciences of all known truths. Neither will I put away mine own judgment, nor accept for truth that which is at variance with thy established laws. Talents shall be strengthened by pursuing and learning physics, astronomy, mathematics, physical anthropology, neuroscience, and genetics. Definition of exact science: a science as physics, chemistry, or astronomy, whose laws are capable of accurate quantitative expression. Now, scrolling down, there it says, compiled and notes by James L. May, with comments by me. Oahspe on equivalence of mass and energy. From the Book of Saphah, plate 65, Simoin. Within the description of Agni, number 72, we find the following. Emblem of corporal dissolution and of the escape of the potent power within. Here we have the statement of the equivalence of mass and energy, or Einstein's E equals mc squared from his special theory of relativity. It was in Oahspe in statement form long before Einstein formulated his famous equation in 1905. Oahspe was typed in 1882. To illustrate what Oahspe refers to as, quote, the potent power within, 1 kilogram of radium is converted into the equivalence of 400 tons of TNT. The nuclear fission process is done in exactly the same way, but the released energy is even greater. Oahspe Book of Saphah, Simoin, within the description of Agni, number 72. Agni, panic word, fire. Agni, to burn. Emblem of worlds moldering into dust, and of the harvest of souls ascending to heaven. Emblem of corporal dissolution and of the escape of the potent power within. In the days, in brackets I put mid 20th century, when mortals put words into all things and made them speak. In brackets I put modern electro-dynamic speaker. Agni, fire, stood giant over all. In brackets I put tall, skyward atomic thermonuclear fireballs and clouds of the 1940s, 50s, and 60s. Till Yotia water bathed his head, when lo, black death, charcoal, breathed forth poisonous, in brackets I put toxic fumes, air. And there you see the equation, the famous equation, E equals mc squared. And there is Albert Einstein, the scientist, writing E equals mc squared on a blackboard. And there are atomic clouds from a nuclear explosion, probably Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945. There's another fireball, nuclear fireball from a nuclear explosion. There is the ruined city of Hiroshima or Nagasaki, whichever that is. And there you see a burnt, charred body, Black Death. And below, I wrote, here, Oahspe in 1881, 19th century, describes the future of the 20th century in the book of Saphah. E equals mc squared, modern electrodynamic speaker, atomic and thermonuclear fireballs and mushroom clouds, burnt cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and charred bodies, Black Death. Fireball, Agni. 2. This is under the freedictionary.com fireball definition. Fireball, in brackets I put Agni, what the book of Saphah calls Agni. Fireball. Number 2, a highly luminous, intensely hot spherical cloud of dust, gas, and vapor generated by a nuclear explosion. 2, in physics or general physics, the bright spherical region of hot ionized gas at the center of a nuclear explosion. And that's from freedictionary.com, fireball, which when I click on the link, you can see it right there. The definition. 2, a highly luminous, intensely hot spherical cloud of dust, gas, vapor generated by nuclear explosion, which I read before. And there's the other definition, general physics. the bright spherical region of hot ionized gas at the center of a nuclear explosion. So going back, now going back to the description in Oahspe, Book of Saphah. This is just another example how the Book of Saphah has scientific factual information, and in this case, prophetic information about what was going to take place in the 20th century. All derived from E equals mc squared, the equivalence of mass and energy, and the first atomic bombs and explosions. And as it said in the Book of Saphah, emblem of corporal dissolution and of the escape of the potent power within. Here we have the statement of the equivalence of mass and energy, or Einstein's E equals mc squared, from the special theory of relativity, which Einstein formulated his famous equation in 1905, and Oahspe was typed in 1881. And in the Book of Saphah, it goes on to say, emblem of worlds moldering into dust, and of the harvest of souls ascending to heaven. So there is a picture of that, the picture of the equation, which stands for the equivalence of mass and energy, or the escape of the potent power within. And there's the images of the atomic bombs of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Moldering to dust, the ruined city, and the harvest of souls that died. I believe 80,000, approximately 80,000 people were instantly vaporized in the atomic bomb dropped on Japan, in one of them, either Hiroshima or Nagasaki, probably Hiroshima, where when the bomb exploded, 80,000 people were instantly vaporized. So reading again, continuing on, it says Agni, fire, or Agni, to burn, and that's exactly what a fireball does. And it goes on, emblem of worlds moldering into dust, and of the harvest of souls ascending to heaven. All of that from the corporal dissolution and of the escape of the potent power within. This is also related to where in Oahspe, Book of Cosmogony and Prophecy, I believe it says, exchange the vortexia, which is the potent power within, and the corpor flieth into dissolution. So that's just another way in the Book of Cosmogony and Prophecy. It said the same thing here in the Book of Saphah, corporal dissolution and of the escape of the potent power within. Or in the Book of Cosmogony and Prophecy, it says exchange the vortexia, which is the potent power within, and the corpor flieth into dissolution. which is the corporal dissolution. And then it goes on to say in the book of Saphah, plate 65, Samoan, under within the description of agony, number 72, in the days, the mid 20th century is when this happened. The first atomic bombs that were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And then when mortals put words into all things and made them speak, that's the modern electro-dynamic speaker, which was also brought about in the mid 20th century. It says, Agni, fire, stood giant over all, tall skyward atomic thermonuclear fireballs and clouds of the 1940s, 50s, and 60s. Stood giant over all. And here's a picture of what the book of Saphah was talking about. Here's the thermonuclear cloud here. I'm going to click on a bigger image of this right here. Surface detonation cloud height versus yield. So here's a cloud height right here. Altitude times 1,000 feet. So that cloud height would be over 100,000 feet. And as you can see, that's much higher than there's an airplane. The troposphere of the atmosphere, the stratosphere. This cloud height is standing tall over all, as it says in the book of Saphah. And that was a 30. You have different megatons, which is a million tons of TNT, I believe, and a kiloton is 1,000. It's measuring different nuclear explosions by kiloton all the way up to megatons. And as you can see, the smaller 1 kiloton and 10 kilotons are below their clouds are below the height of a jet or airliner, pictured there. But the largest explosions, which happened in the 20th century, after the mid 20th century, were 10 to 30 megatons. And even larger. There's one larger that's not even pictured on here that I'll speak of later. But you see it stands tall overall, way up above the stratosphere and the troposphere and the flight of airplanes and jets. So that's what Oahspe meant when it talked about, scrolling down here, when it talked about Agni, fire, stood giant over all. Then it goes on to say, till Yotia, water, bathed his head, when lo, black death, charcoal. So a picture of the black death and charcoal that it's talking about. Here's a picture from one of the cities of Japan where the atomic bomb was dropped. Again, either Hiroshima or Nagasaki. And there's black death right there. Charcoal black body right there. From the Agni, the fire, the burning. From the escape of the potent power within. And then it goes on to say, breathed forth poisonous and air, which I put in parentheses or in brackets, toxic fumes, which toxic fumes are derived from nuclear explosions and the burning of material within the city. You will have toxic fumes. So it went on to say, when mortals put words, it says in the days, which I interpret during the mid 20th century, which was the next century after Oahspe was typed, when mortals put words into all things and made them speak. And then my interpretation of that was the modern electro-dynamic speaker. And scrolling down, right here, I say, in the days when mortals put words into all things and made them speak, from Oahspe, Book of Saphah, plate 65, Samoan, number 72. History and types of speakers. This is from edisonTechCenter.org/speakers. History and types of speakers. Speakers, how it works in history by the Edison Tech Center. Number 2, the electro-dynamic loudspeaker, the modern speaker. Electro-dynamic loudspeaker, the most common type of speaker in the world today. Why did it take so long to invent the speaker? It sounds simple, but to build a speaker, one needs to have an understanding of electrical, radio, sound waves, mechanics, chemistry, and physics. Today, an engineer is trained after a few years of college in these areas if they choose. Back in the early part of the 20th century, the basic knowledge of math and frequencies was still being explored. While the electromagnetic part of the speaker was invented early in the 1860s, it took 40 more years to develop a knowledge of acoustics and materials. C.W. Rice and E.W. Kellogg finally invented it by solving the final part of the puzzle. I wonder if that's the same Kellogg who invented the cereal, Kellogg. The final work was on how to shape the diaphragm and what materials to use. The recent developments in vacuum tubes in the 1910s helped to do sophisticated control of frequencies and power regulation. C.W. Rice of General Electric and E.W. Kellogg of AT&T worked together in Schenectady, New York, to develop the modern speaker and first electric amplification system. They created a working prototype in 1921. And that again was from edisontechcenter.org/speakers, which if I click on that link, that brings up the page right there. History and types of loudspeakers. The standard dynamic loudspeaker that we know of today was first built in the 1920s and uses a magnetic field to move a coil or magnet which is connected to a diaphragm. There are other kinds of speakers /sound amplification devices besides the standard round speaker. In this article, we will cover a few of the most common and most important and common speakers. And there is some more from that page. So anyway, um, on my website, you can click on that link and pull up this web page and read as much as you want. Now continuing where I left off. So there you have it. From Oahspe, Book of Saphah, plate 65, within the description. So thank you again for listening and tuning in and watching this video. And stay tuned for the next podcast video from studyofOahspe.com.